He cheated for years, but her goodbye was priceless. Imagine discovering a secret that shatters everything you thought you knew about the person you loved most. That feeling of betrayal, the aching silence that follows, and the burning question that haunts you every single day. Was any of it real? Today, you're about to dive deep into a story that's not just about infidelity. It's about a woman who took back her power in a way that no one saw coming. If you've ever wondered how far someone could go when pushed to the edge, or if you've struggled to find closure after being hurt, this story is for you. I'm going to take you through every twist, every heartbreak, and every shocking moment. So make sure you stay with me until the very end, because the answer to what happened after her goodbye will blow your mind. You'll see why her final move wasn't just a goodbye, it was a message that echoed far beyond the pain. From the start, this is not your typical cheating story filled with cliches or easy excuses. It's a journey into the depths of deception, emotional warfare, and ultimately, self-discovery. The man at the center of this tale was living a double life. Years of lies, stolen moments, and secret betrayals hidden behind the facade of a happy family. But this isn't about him. This is about her. The woman who endured the unthinkable, who faced the crushing weight of betrayal, and who made a choice that changed everything. As you watch this video, I want you to put yourself in her shoes. Think about the quiet moments when doubt creeps in, when your heart fights between hope and truth. How do you find strength when the person you trusted most becomes your greatest hurt? The psychological battle here is real, raw, and deeply human. You might even recognize parts of your own story in hers. That connection is why you can't look away, why you have to know what happens next. Now, before we get deeper, let me tell you, this video isn't just about exposing the cheating or the heartbreak. It's about how one goodbye can carry the weight of years of pain, and how it can unlock a sense of freedom no one expected. The primary conflict you'll see unfold isn't just about love lost. It's about reclaiming dignity and rewriting your own story after betrayal. You'll meet her, a woman who could have crumbled, but instead found a way to rise. You'll meet him, the man whose mistakes set off a chain reaction that no one could stop. And you'll discover the unexpected twists that make this story unforgettable. I promise, by the end of this video, you'll understand why her goodbye was not only priceless, but a powerful act of courage. I know how tempting it is to scroll past stories like these, to think this is just another cheating story. But this one is different, because it's about more than cheating. It's about the human spirit and the complexities of love and betrayal that most people never see. You're going to witness the emotional roller coaster, the heartbreak, and ultimately the triumph, all told in a way that feels personal, real, and impossible to ignore. As you watch, you'll feel yourself pulled into their world, feeling her pain and hope, and maybe even questioning what you would do if faced with the same situation. The raw honesty here is what makes this story stick with you long after the video ends. Throughout this video, I'll be sharing key moments that expose the lies and reveal the truth piece by piece, so you get a full picture of what really happened behind closed doors. But I won't spoil it now. Part of what makes this story so gripping is the slow unraveling of secrets and the build-up to her unforgettable goodbye. So, if you're ready to uncover the shocking reality of a love betrayed and a woman's ultimate stand, stay with me. This story isn't just a tale of heartbreak, it's a lesson in resilience, in finding your voice when everything else feels lost. Just when you think you have it figured out, just when the pieces seem to fall into place, something unexpected happens that flips everything upside down. That's the moment you won't want to miss, because it's the moment that changes everything and makes her goodbye priceless in ways you never imagined. So don't go anywhere, because the truth behind the story is coming up, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. What started as years of cheating ended with a goodbye that no one saw coming, and today, you're going to get the full story, the secrets, the heartbreak, and the final act of power that will leave you speechless. Stay tuned as the story unfolds. It becomes clear that this woman's life wasn't just shattered overnight. It was a slow unraveling, a series of quiet moments where suspicion whispered in the shadows, but never quite spoke loud enough to be heard. In the months leading up to that fateful goodbye, She had noticed subtle changes, the kind that most people might overlook or rationalize away. The late nights at work that suddenly became more frequent, the unexplained texts that disappeared when she entered the room, the way his phone screen always seemed to dim just a little too quickly whenever she glanced over. But what made this story so gripping wasn't just these typical signs. It was how deeply tangled everything was, how many layers of deception had been carefully woven into a life that appeared perfectly normal to the outside world. You'll see how she wrestled with these doubts, sometimes convincing herself it was nothing, sometimes letting the seeds of fear grow, and how those moments slowly built into a storm that no one could ignore. Behind the scenes, her relationships with friends and family added another complex layer to this mystery. Some close to her noticed her growing distance, her hesitation to talk about him, and the way she seemed caught between wanting to believe and needing to know the truth. There were whispered conversations, veiled warnings, and subtle hints that not everything was as it seemed, but no one could quite put their finger on what was really going on. Was it just paranoia, or was there something more sinister lurking beneath the surface? Then there were the red herrings, people who appeared to be part of the puzzle, but whose motives were unclear. A longtime colleague who seemed overly interested in her personal life, a new friend who popped up at just the wrong moments, and even someone from his past whose presence in their lives stirred up old fears and suspicions. These characters added to the tension, making it impossible to know who could be trusted and who might be hiding their own secrets. As you watch, you'll realize that every interaction, every late-night conversation, and every passing glance carried weight. There were moments when hope flickered, when she caught him in a rare moment of honesty, where he seemed to reach out for connection. But those moments only deepened the mystery. Was he truly remorseful, or was this just another layer of manipulation? The psychological battle was not just between two people, but within her own mind as she fought to separate fact from fiction, truth from lies. The story peels back the layers of everyday life to reveal the fragile nature of trust and how easily it can be shattered by deception. And just when you think you've caught a glimpse of the truth, new questions emerge, pushing you deeper into this maze of uncertainty. What really happened during those years of cheating? Was it just a reckless series of mistakes, or was there something more calculated at play? And how did her goodbye manage to turn the tables in a way no one expected? The answers are hidden in the details, the quiet conversations, the unspoken tensions, the moments of clarity and confusion that define their final days together. Each clue brings us closer to understanding, yet every revelation seems to open up new mysteries. You'll start to piece together the signs she saw but couldn't fully grasp, the people who circled around them like vultures waiting for a moment of weakness, and the unseen forces that shaped the course of their lives. The tension builds steadily, drawing you in and refusing to let go because, in this story, every detail matters and every moment could be the key to unlocking the truth. As this complex web tightens, you might find yourself questioning not just the characters, but the very nature of betrayal and forgiveness. What does it really mean to say goodbye when your whole world feels like it's falling apart? How far can one person be pushed before they decide enough is enough? And what does a priceless goodbye really look like when everything you believed in turns to dust? These questions linger in the air, casting a shadow over the narrative and compelling you to keep watching, to stay connected, because the journey toward answers is as gripping as the answers themselves. The story refuses to settle into easy explanations or neat conclusions. Instead, it pulls you into a psychological thriller disguised as a real-life drama, making you wonder who is truly guilty and who is simply a victim of circumstance. Just when the tension feels unbearable and the truth seems just out of reach, an unexpected development shakes everything to its core. The people you thought were innocent suddenly seem suspicious, the motives behind certain actions become unclear, and the line between victim and perpetrator blurs. This is where the story shifts, where your assumptions will be challenged, and the layers of deception start to peel back in ways you never saw coming. But I won't spoil that for you now. What I will say is that this is not just a story about cheating or heartbreak. It's a story about how one woman's final act of courage created a ripple effect that no one could stop. The mystery deepens, the stakes rise, and the answer to why her goodbye was priceless is coming. Stay with me, because the truth is about to change everything. Just when she thought she was beginning to piece everything together, the story took a darker turn, plunging her into an even more tangled web of uncertainty and danger. The key evidence she had held on to, the one thing that promised to finally expose the truth, vanished without a trace. It wasn't just misplaced or accidentally lost. It disappeared as if someone had deliberately erased it from her life. That moment, that crushing realization, shattered her fragile hope and sent her spiraling into a deeper maze of questions. Who could have done this, and why? Was someone watching her, tracking her every move? The disappearance of this critical piece of evidence didn't just stall her search for answers, it threatened to silence her forever. She was warned, too, subtle but unmistakable messages from people who once seemed like allies, cautioning her to stop digging, to let the past remain buried. The warnings were chilling in their calmness, almost as if they were trying to scare her with silence rather than threats. Yet the silence spoke volumes. It became clear that what she was uncovering wasn't just a private heartbreak. It was a secret so dangerous that some would go to great lengths to keep it hidden. This wasn't just a story about infidelity anymore. Somewhere beneath the surface, a secret past event was waiting to explode into the open, something that tied not just her husband, but others in their circle, into a betrayal far more profound than anyone suspected. The details were blurry at first, but as she dug deeper, the outlines of a hidden betrayal began to form, a betrayal that reached into years before their relationship even began. An event someone desperately wanted forgotten. It could change everything about how she understood not only her husband, but the people she thought she could trust. Even the closest friends and family started to seem like suspects, their smiles masking intentions she could no longer read. Among those she once counted on, a suspicious ally emerged, a person whose support felt genuine, but who left behind a trail of questions that made her wonder if they were helping her find the truth or bury it deeper. Was this ally a friend or a foe? A guide or a manipulator? The lines blurred, and the more she reached out, the more isolated she felt. The atmosphere around her thickened with tension, as if the walls were closing in and the stakes were growing higher by the day. Every step forward was met with an invisible resistance. Every new lead seemed to evaporate just as hope flared. The emotional toll was immense, pulling her between despair and determination. Her mind raced to understand who wanted to keep this secret safe, and what they were willing to do to stop her. The sense of danger lurking in the shadows was no longer just a feeling, it was real. Yet, despite the obstacles, she couldn't turn back. This was more than about finding out if he cheated. It was about uncovering a truth that could shatter lives and force long-buried sins into the light. Then came the twist that no one saw coming. Just when she thought she had identified the source of the betrayal, something, or someone, emerged to cast doubt on everything she believed. A message appeared, anonymous and cryptic, hinting that the biggest lie wasn't what she thought at all. It suggested there was a hidden player in this game, someone whose role had been invisible until now but who held the key to unlocking the full story. This revelation turned her world upside down, making her question every clue, every motive, and even her own judgment. Who was this mysterious figure? Were they friend or foe? And most importantly, could she trust anyone at all? This unresolved twist left her standing at the edge of a precipice, caught between what she knew and what she feared might be true. The truth she sought was closer than ever, yet more dangerous and elusive than she ever imagined. As the tension mounted and the lines between ally and enemy blurred, one thing became painfully clear. In this story, nothing is what it seems, and the price of uncovering the truth might be higher than she, or you, are ready to pay. The journey is far from over, and what happens next will change everything. Stay with me because the next chapter is coming, and it holds answers that will shock you to your core. Just as she grappled with the shock of the mysterious message and the sudden shift in everything she thought she knew, another thread began to unravel, pulling her deeper into a labyrinth far more twisted than she could have imagined. Across town, someone close to her, someone she had always trusted implicitly, received a message strikingly similar to hers. It wasn't just a coincidence. This new person, who had remained mostly in the background until now, suddenly found themselves caught in the crosshairs of the same invisible forces that sought to silence her. The message wasn't just a warning, it was a challenge, a cryptic invitation to uncover truths that many desperately wanted to remain hidden. The fact that more than one person connected to her was being targeted raised the stakes exponentially. It meant this wasn't just about one man's betrayal anymore. It was about a network of secrets with far-reaching consequences. As they both started piecing together their fragments of the puzzle, it became clear that their lives, and possibly the lives of everyone around them, were intertwined in ways no one had anticipated. Meanwhile, a new piece of evidence surfaced that threatened to turn the entire story on its head. Something that didn't just contradict what she had believed, but outright dismantled the foundation of her assumptions. This wasn't a simple slip or an accidental discovery. It was a calculated reveal, seemingly planted to mislead, confuse, or maybe test her resolve. The evidence pointed to an alternate narrative, suggesting that some of the key events she had anchored her suspicions on might have been fabrications or deliberate manipulations. Suddenly, the people she had started to suspect seemed to have alibis more solid than before, and the lines between victim and perpetrator blurred even further. Friends who once seemed innocent appeared to be hiding agendas, while enemies displayed unexpected vulnerabilities. Every conversation became a minefield. Every glance weighted with uncertainty. The trust she once placed in her own instincts wavered, and the viewers watching along are forced to ask, who really holds the power in this tangled web? Who's pulling the strings, and who's being played? As the tension escalates, the emotional pressure on her intensifies. The secondary storyline not only complicates the mystery, but also amplifies the danger surrounding her. With two people now targeted by unknown threats and multiple conflicting clues emerging, the atmosphere thickens with paranoia and doubt. She begins to question whether she is uncovering a truth that will free her or a darkness that will consume everything she cares about. The psychological weight is immense, not just the fear of being deceived, but the haunting possibility that some betrayals run deeper than cheating, that some secrets are locked away for reasons far darker than anyone ever imagined. The fear isn't just about what she might find, but what those findings could mean for her safety, her relationships, and her very sense of reality. This story is no longer just a personal heartbreak. It's a high-stakes game where every move could trigger consequences that ripple far beyond what anyone could foresee. The ripple effect of these intertwined storylines keeps viewers on edge, making it impossible to predict who will emerge as a friend or foe. Just when it seems like a breakthrough is within reach, another twist pulls the rug out from under everyone's feet, forcing a reevaluation of motives and alliances. In this evolving drama, loyalty is a currency in short supply, and trust is the most dangerous gamble. The uncertainty is not just a backdrop, but the very heartbeat of the narrative, compelling you to stay connected, to watch closely, and to question everything you think you know. Because in this story, every truth uncovered only leads to more questions, and every shadow hides a secret waiting to be revealed. The path ahead is fraught with danger and deception, and the next chapter promises to upend everything once again, leaving you guessing and wanting more. The chilling sense of unease that had been quietly building finally exploded into something unmistakably real and terrifying, a dark turning point that shattered any lingering illusion of safety. One evening, just as she was about to leave her home, the feeling that someone was watching her became impossible to ignore. She caught a shadow moving just beyond the edge of the porch light, fleeting but deliberate. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was a concrete, suffocating fear that tightened its grip on her chest. Every step she took outside felt weighted. Every glance over her shoulder confirmed the haunting reality. She was being followed. The once familiar streets turned into a maze of suspicion where every passerby could be a threat, and even the comforting routine of daily life was twisted into a trap. The danger was no longer abstract. It was breathing down her neck, silent but relentless. In the same breath, the phone call came, a voice on the other end cold and emotionless, delivering a threat that left no room for doubt. They knew her name, her address, and her deepest secrets. The message was clear: stop now, or face consequences worse than betrayal. As if that wasn't enough to unravel her already fragile world, the person she had come to trust most, the one who had received the similar cryptic message, vanished without a trace. No calls, no messages, nothing. One moment they were there, standing beside her, sharing whispered theories and cautious hope, and the next, they were gone. The silence left behind was deafening, filled with more questions than answers. Was this a kidnapping? A warning? Or worse, had they turned away, giving in to the pressure that shadowed their every step? Her mind spun with fear and guilt, questioning if she should have done more to protect them, or if her relentless pursuit of the truth had put them directly in harm's way. The emotional weight was crushing, every memory of shared laughter and trust now tinged with a haunting uncertainty. Her isolation deepened, her thoughts spiraling into a vortex of paranoia as she struggled to distinguish between real threats and the illusions born of fear. Every creak in the house, every ring of the phone, and every unexpected knock became a potential harbinger of doom. The story she was unraveling was no longer just about cheating or betrayal. It had grown into a sinister puzzle where danger lurked in every corner and trust was a weapon wielded with deadly precision. The stakes had never been higher, and the mystery was rapidly spiraling out of control. She was caught in a shadow war, where the rules were unknown, the enemies invisible, and the cost of uncovering the truth could very well be her life. As the tension tightened around her like a noose, she realized that the path forward was more perilous than she ever imagined, and that in the darkness, the answers she sought might come at a price she wasn't sure she could pay. The story is far from over, and what happens next will force her, and you, to confront a truth darker and more dangerous than anyone could have predicted. Stay close, because the next reveal might be the one that changes everything forever. Just when it felt like the walls were closing in and every shadow hid a new threat, the ground beneath her shifted in a way no one could have anticipated, unraveling everything she thought she knew. In the midst of her growing paranoia and isolation, a trusted confidant, someone she had leaned on through every twist and turn, stepped forward with a revelation so shocking it threw the entire mystery into chaos. This wasn't just a tale of betrayal or secrets whispered in the dark. It was something far more sinister, a hidden truth that had been buried beneath layers of deception and carefully constructed lies. The person she trusted revealed that the cheating, the threats, and the disappearances might have been distractions, deliberate misdirections designed to protect an even darker secret. What if the real danger wasn't the man she believed had betrayed her or the shadowy figures lurking just out of sight, but someone or something connected to her own past, something she had never suspected? Suddenly, the clues she had pieced together began to fall apart, revealing gaps where she'd assumed certainty. Old photos, forgotten messages, and hidden recordings emerged, not just hinting at a secret life she never imagined, but suggesting that she herself had been unknowingly part of the mystery all along. The realization hit like a punch to the gut. The story wasn't just unfolding around her, it was woven into the very fabric of her existence. At the same time, a new figure stepped into the picture, a stranger with a calm, almost unsettling confidence, claiming knowledge of the entire situation but revealing only fragments at a time. Their agenda was unclear, their allegiance uncertain. Were they an ally, here to help her finally see the truth? Or were they another player in this intricate game of shadows, manipulating her for their own dark purposes? This new presence complicated the narrative further, forcing her and the audience to question every motive and reassess every relationship. The line between victim and perpetrator blurred beyond recognition as hidden agendas emerged from the fog, revealing alliances forged in secrecy and betrayals that ran far deeper than simple infidelity. The once clear path to justice became a twisting maze of half-truths and unexpected connections, and the emotional stakes grew even higher as the very identity of the people around her came into question. This major twist didn't just rewrite the story. It shattered the foundation of trust and certainty, leaving her stranded in a world where nothing was as it seemed. The clues she had chased so relentlessly now felt like fragments of a puzzle designed to mislead, and the truth she sought seemed to be slipping further away, tangled in layers of manipulation and concealed motives. As the mystery deepened, so did her fear and determination, driving her to push forward despite the rising danger and mounting doubts. What seemed like a personal betrayal was actually the tip of an iceberg hiding a far more complex and terrifying reality. The story has taken a darker, more twisted turn, and as the pieces fall into place, one question remains. Can she uncover the truth before it's too late, or will the secrets that have haunted her destroy everything she holds dear? Stay tuned, because the answers you think you have are about to be challenged in ways you never expected. The pressure that had been quietly mounting exploded into a crushing weight, forcing her to stand at a crossroads where every path seemed lined with danger and betrayal. She found herself confronting the people she thought she knew best, those she trusted with her deepest fears and secrets, and suddenly everything felt fragile, like a house of cards trembling in a storm. The biggest challenge wasn't just the mystery anymore. It was the impossible choices she had to make, the gut-wrenching decisions that tore at her heart and mind in equal measure. When the truth became a weapon aimed directly at the people she cared about, loyalty and survival collided in a brutal showdown. One night, after a tense conversation thick with unspoken accusations and raw emotion, she was faced with an ultimatum so severe it left her reeling. Abandon the search for answers or risk everything, including her own safety and the fragile bonds that held her world together. It was a test of courage, love, and resilience, where the cost of knowing the truth might be losing the very people who mattered most. The emotional toll was staggering, the nights growing longer with restless thoughts of what might be lost and what was still at stake. Every step forward felt like stepping deeper into a labyrinth without a clear exit, as old wounds reopened and new fractures formed in relationships once thought unbreakable. The fear wasn't just about being followed or threatened anymore. It was about facing the possibility that the people closest to her might not be who they appeared to be. Doubt crept into her thoughts like a slow poison, making every smile, every gesture, and every whispered word suspect. The emotional burden weighed heavily, threatening to crush her spirit, yet something inside refused to give up. She knew the truth was out there, hidden beneath layers of lies and shadows, and no matter the cost, she had to find it. But with every choice she made, the stakes climbed higher and the consequences became more personal and painful. The story was no longer just a mystery to be solved. It was a battle for survival, trust, and redemption, and the outcome was far from certain. The tension crackled in the air, the stakes reaching a fever pitch, and with each passing moment, the line between friend and foe blurred even further, leaving her and you, wondering who could be trusted when everything was on the line. The journey ahead promised more heartbreak, more danger, and more shocking truths, but one thing was clear. There was no turning back now. Just when she thought she had uncovered the worst of it, the truth exploded before her in a way that left her breathless and shattered every illusion she had clung to. The conspiracy she was tangled in wasn't a lone wolf's game. It was an intricate web spun far wider and deeper than she ever imagined, stretching into places she never expected. Faces she had trusted, voices that had reassured her in moments of doubt, suddenly twisted into instruments of betrayal. It was no longer just about her or even the man who had deceived her for years. It was a vast network of secrets, lies, and manipulation involving people she'd thought were allies, neighbors, and even family. The shock hit like a freight train when someone she held closest revealed their true colors, not just turning their back on her, but actively working to keep the darkest truths buried forever. The emotional betrayal was almost unbearable, flooding her with a mix of rage, despair, and a fierce determination to fight back against the forces aligned against her. The pace of events accelerated, each new revelation feeling like a bomb detonating in her carefully ordered life. She was no longer just uncovering pieces of a puzzle, but running through a gauntlet where every step could bring danger or destruction. The stakes were astronomical: the safety of those she loved, the exposure of corruption that reached far beyond personal pain, and the chance to break free from a nightmare that had tightened like a noose around her world. The tension was palpable, every shadow potentially hiding a threat, every phone call and message a puzzle or a warning. Her heart raced with adrenaline and fear as she pushed forward, knowing the clock was ticking and the consequences of failure were too high to imagine. The deeper she dug, the clearer it became that this was about power, control, and secrets worth killing for, forces bigger than just infidelity or personal revenge. In this whirlwind of danger and deception, trust became a currency rarer than gold. Every encounter was charged with suspicion, every smile weighed with unspoken meaning. The emotional roller coaster was relentless, pulling her between moments of hope and crushing disappointment. Yet beneath it all, a fire burned, a fierce refusal to let the conspiracy win, to let the lies continue unchallenged. The world she thought she knew had crumbled, replaced by a darker reality filled with hidden enemies and unexpected allies, and the only way forward was through the storm. The climax was near, and with it, the promise of answers, reckoning, and maybe, just maybe, a chance at redemption. But as the tension reaches its boiling point, one question hangs heavy in the air. Who will emerge from this tangled web unscathed, and who will be lost forever in the shadows? The moment she had feared and fought for finally arrived in a storm of raw emotion and shattering truths, each heartbeat pounding louder than the last as she stood face to face with the person who had pulled the strings behind her unraveling life. The confrontation was nothing like she expected, not just a simple reckoning, but a twisted dance of words and hidden motives where every revelation landed like a blow, cutting deeper than any physical wound. The villain, once cloaked in familiarity and false kindness, shed their mask to reveal a cold, calculating mind that had orchestrated years of deception and pain. As she laid out the pieces of the puzzle, evidence painstakingly gathered, betrayals uncovered, and lies exposed, the air thickened with tension, a silent witness to the collision of two wills locked in a battle far beyond mere survival. The room seemed to close in, the stakes rising with every breath, as past and present collided in a crescendo of accusations, confessions, and raw desperation. But just as she thought the truth was finally laid bare, a chilling twist shattered everything once more. The final piece of evidence was not what it seemed. A new player emerged from the shadows, someone whose involvement had been cleverly hidden all along, revealing that the conspiracy was even darker and more complex than she imagined. This revelation rewrote the rules of the game and left her scrambling to reassess every relationship, every assumption she had made. The villain she confronted was merely a pawn in a far greater scheme, and the true mastermind had been lurking closer than she dared to believe, watching and manipulating from behind the curtain. The emotional impact was devastating, forcing her to confront not only the external enemies, but the internal fractures of trust and hope. In the eye of the storm, her strength and resilience were pushed to their absolute limits as she realized that the battle for truth was far from over and the cost of winning might be more than she was willing to pay. This climax was more than just a showdown. It was a raw, human struggle filled with heartbreak, betrayal, and the unyielding desire for justice. The final moments held the audience captive, their hearts racing alongside hers, desperate to know how the story would end, yet left hanging on the edge by that unexpected, shattering twist. The story refused to settle, instead exploding into a whirlwind of questions and emotions that would echo long after the screen faded to black. In this powerful climax, the true meaning of betrayal and courage was revealed, reminding us all that sometimes the deepest wounds come not from strangers, but from those we once called family, and that the price of uncovering the truth is never cheap. In the quiet aftermath of everything that had shattered and been revealed, she finally found a fragile kind of peace, not the easy closure she had hoped for, but a hard-earned understanding that some wounds don't fully heal and some truths refuse to be neatly wrapped up. The tangled web of lies and betrayals had been unraveled enough to expose the darkness that had hidden in plain sight for so long, and though justice had been served in unexpected ways, the scars left behind ran deep and raw. She looked around at what remained, relationships fractured beyond repair, trust forever altered, and a new, cautious strength born from surviving the unimaginable. The answers she had fought so fiercely for didn't come with the relief she thought they would. Instead, they brought new questions about the nature of truth and the people we think we know best. The shadows of the past still lingered, whispering reminders that beneath every story lies a complexity no single moment can capture. Yet amidst the lingering uncertainty, there was a quiet hope, a promise that while the past can never be erased, the future still held possibilities untarnished by deception. She had become a different person, wiser and more guarded but also more resilient, knowing that moving forward meant carrying the weight of her experiences without letting them define her. The story closed not with a tidy ending but with a reflection on the human capacity to endure, to question, and to rebuild even when the foundation seems irreparably broken. And just when it seemed the curtain had fallen, a subtle, almost imperceptible detail slipped through, a message, a glance, or a shadow of doubt, that hinted the story might not be over, leaving the audience suspended in a space where hope and fear intertwined. It was a haunting reminder that every answer uncovered is only part of a larger mystery, and that sometimes the greatest challenge is learning to live with the unknown. This ending leaves viewers not only with closure, but with a lingering sense of reflection, encouraging them to consider how trust, betrayal, and resilience play out in their own lives long after the screen goes dark.